welcome back. Happy Friday. It's time for another live recipe demonstration, and I really love these live sessions because it gives me a chance to interact with you a little bit. So please say hello in the comments and let me know where you're calling or watching from, I should say, because I just would love to see where we're connecting with people all over the country for these live videos. It's really nice. Here I'm coming to you from my home kitchen in Las Vegas, and it is unseasonably cold here. It's like 44 degrees and drizzling outside, really unusual for the desert. But at this time of year, it's so common for the winter to be in its death throes and to just have some of these days that you just want to sit at home and curl up with something cozy. And I'm going to teach you how to make a homemade chai tea latte. And it's just perfect for days like this. So I'm really excited. Chai has like a combination of warming spices in it. Things like cinnamon and cloves and nutmeg and allspice, and among others. And I'll kind of go into these in a little bit more detail in just a moment. But it's really great. We're gonna add these spices into our tea, and we're gonna put in our amla green pumpkin spice. And that this product actually contains a lot of these chai spices, so it's a perfect complement, but it also has the amla, the Indian gooseberries, which is such a great boon for our health. So I'll show you how to add that as well. Let's see who we've got here today. We've got Diane from Saugerties, New York. Welcome, Diane. Great to see you back. Tamara from Maryland. Welcome. Nice to see you. Very, very wonderful. Happy Friday to everyone. Great. So as I was just mentioning the amla green pumpkin spice, and it would be very easy to assume that this is just for fall. And that would be a sad conclusion to draw, because it's really good all year round. And this is one of the recipes that really proves that. I'm going to show you that. And of course, just making a chai latte at home is always great, because anytime you make something homemade, it's always a little tastier. It's made with love. And usually you can make it a little more healthfully, which is what I'm going to show you today as well. We've got Kim here from Fort Worth, Texas. Welcome, Kim. Great. So nice to have you here. So if you haven't seen me before in these videos, my name is Stefanie from Green Sage, and I am a whole food plant-based chef and cooking instructor, and I share my recipes on Instagram and YouTube at Green Sage Life. So if you haven't seen me before, I would love to connect with you on one of those platforms. And I'm going to demonstrate this chai tea latte. So show you how to do it. But please do stick around for the end, and I'll show you how to get a free gift. And also I'll answer some questions, and that's always fun. We'll talk about some variations on this as well. Okay. So for a chai tea latte, there's a few different methods. No one particular method is correct. There is a traditional method where you simmer the spices in boiling water, but I'm going to show you a method that's a little bit simpler. And so we're going to get started today, right now. I've got a mug here with a little lid and a stainless steel tea diffuser. Now, if you don't have one of these at home, I mean, obviously you could always order a mug like this on Amazon or something, but I'm going to be the reason I'm using the tea strainer is because I have loose leaf black tea, about a half tablespoon here. And I'm going to add to my tea strainer. Now, you could also use black tea in bags and just steep a couple of those into your mug. And I would recommend maybe doubling up for a drink like this, because we're going to be adding a lot of other flavors, and we do want the tea to still stand out. So we're going to go a little strong on the black tea for this. So this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to put the tea strainer into my mug, and I'm going to add about a half of a tablespoon of black loose leaf tea here. Nice and easy. And I'm going to add a scoop of my amla green pumpkin spice tea. And this recipe yields 1 serving of the chai tea. So I'm just going to put 1 scoop in here. Nice and easy. Now, if you do nothing else, this would make a really excellent chai tea. Just pour the hot water, steep it, and you could drink it just like this, because the amla green pumpkin spice contains a lot of the spices that usually go into a chai tea, like I said. So let's get that started. I have my tea kettle here, and if yours has temperature control on it, you would probably heat the water to about 200 degrees. If you just have one of the tea kettles that brings it to boiling, that's perfect too. We're going to keep the water kind of on the hot side because we're going to let it sit for a little bit. We want it to retain some of that heat anyway. And I'm going to use my lid and just put that on top. Well, actually, I have to put some spices in there first. So, okay, got a little ahead of myself. We're going to let this steep for 5 minutes. Now, if you were making it just with your tea and your amla green pumpkin spice, that's where you would stop. But because I would really like to show you how to amp up the flavor, I'm going to add a lot more dried spices that you probably already have many of in your spice cabinet at home in your kitchen. So, for example, I'm going to add just a pinch of ground cinnamon. This is really good for you. Helps also with has some blood glucose control properties like the amla. Just a tiny pinch, like I'm using a 1/4 teaspoon measuring spoon, but I'm only putting a little bit in here. So just because we're going to put a lot of these in here. I'm also going to do some ground cloves. Just a tiny little bit here. And ground cloves is a very powerful spice, so we only need a tiny bit of that to give a lot of flavor. Spices, dried spices in general, also have a really high antioxidant content. Again, much like the amla green itself. So you're going to get such an amazing boost of antioxidants with this delicious hot beverage. I've got a little bit of nutmeg, so I'm going to put that in too. Again, just the tiniest little pinch. Some cardamom, another warming spice, super delicious. Tiniest little bit of that as well. And a little bit of ginger. You guys have seen this in several of our recipes because it's so good for you on so many levels. Anti-inflammatory, it's great for digestion. It's a warming spice as well. And just a little dash of allspice as well here for this. And this one had a shaker top, so I'm just going to shake a little bit in there. Okay, now that all my spices are in my tea, now I will put the lid on, and we're just going to let that steep, usually about 5 minutes. And we probably, for the sake of this demonstration, won't wait quite that long. But while we're waiting for the tea to steep in the hot water and for the spices to also infuse their delicious flavor, I will show you how I like to froth a little bit of almond milk to use for the latte part of the chai tea latte. I've got some almond milk here in a glass jar so you can see it. And I have this little tool here I like to use. It's just a simple frother. Again, you can always order one of these online, really not too expensive. Usually they cost around $10 and it's battery operated. So when I move the button, you'll see a little whisk spins. I'm just gonna turn this on and it's gonna froth my almond milk. It usually only takes a minute or two. Just a few seconds really. 10 to 20 seconds, and that'll be really nice for adding to the top of our chai tea latte. And if you have any questions that come to mind while I'm making this, please put them in the comments below so that I can answer them toward the end of the session here. But that's pretty much it. It's nice and easy. You can see it's frothed a little bit. And that's it. So we're going to, we can probably, just for the sake of this demonstration, take this out a little early. It smells really good. And it's really nice to use dried spices in any dish. So anytime that you add some dried spices to a dish that you're making at home, it really multiplies the antioxidant factor of that dish because, like I mentioned before, dried spices have some of the highest concentration of antioxidants of any food. So it's really great that you can do that. And if you're not used to cooking at home and you're not used to experimenting with different dried spices, then you might want to get on the Amla Green mailing list, the email list, because we're going to continue to help you with this on an ongoing basis. So drop a comment if you're interested in that, and someone will get back to you with information on that. Let's see, we already have a question. Tamara asks, will you share the recipe? Yes, I can drop the recipe at the end of the live in the comments so that you can see what I've done here. But again, there's not really too much to the quantities here. But yeah, I'll just write it all out for you. It's really kind of like just a dash of everything. So you don't have to be too precise with any of this. All right, so we've had the tea steeping now for just a few minutes. And I've left some space in my mug because I'm going to add a few other things here to the chai tea. Actually, I set that aside here. Okay, first up, now if you would like to sweeten your tea a little bit, this would be a good time to do that. I would probably put just a drop of some pure maple syrup. When you buy this, you want to make sure that it is pure maple syrup. It only has one ingredient. Some other like famous brands have, you know, artificial flavors and brown syrups and things like that. So I just put you might have just seen, I put the tiniest drop of that in here. You could sweeten it to your taste, but I like to keep it a little more healthful and keep the added sugar down to a minimum. I will also add a little splash of vanilla extract. If I can open it, there we go. And that would just add a nice little bit of a creamier element to this. And again, just a tiny splash of this. Even that might have been a little much, that's okay. And now I will add my frothed almond milk to the chai. Like I said, I left some space so that the mug would not overflow. Nice and easy there. And then I'll just stir it all together. So this really could not be any simpler to do at home. I'm gonna take a sip right now. It's so good. Like all of these spices in here, they do have like warming properties. They're kind of prized for that in Ayurvedic medicine, in ancient Indian medicine, and as is amla, by the way, the Indian gooseberry. And so when you're feeling cold, these spices really kind of warm you from the inside, and it's just so wonderful. Let's see, we've got a comment from Kim. I make my own chai at home using cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, cardamom, cloves, black pepper, and a little bit of maple syrup. Yes, that is right on. You really summarized it beautifully. And that actually brings me to some of the variations I was planning to talk to you about, because I did bring with me some black pepper. So that's another spice that you could add. Would be really nice to add to the mix before you steep your tea. Another thing I really like to add sometimes is a star anise pod. You might have seen these. They're so pretty. The smell is faintly of like black licorice. You probably know what anise smells like or tastes like. And that's a really nice one to add to your steeping basket when you make this tea. And then you can sometimes I like to make a chocolate chai. So I'll put maybe a half teaspoon or even just a quarter teaspoon of raw cacao powder into the steeping basket as well. And that gives it a little bit of a subtle chocolatey flavor. So that's a really nice option. And then there's another kind of popular version of chai tea called dirty chai, which you may have heard of. And that's where you can order that at a cafe sometimes, and they will add either a shot of espresso to your chai tea and give it kind of a coffee flavor, or just some regular coffee. And you probably know Amla Green also does offer a coffee. So you could brew a little coffee and add that to your chai tea to make it a dirty chai. Dirty, I guess, because the coffee makes it a little bit darker color when it's brewed. And speaking of coffee, Amla Green does offer a free coffee recipe guide. So if you're interested in that, kind of on the theme of our hot beverages today, if you would like to get this, drop the word guide in the comments and someone will send you a link to the coffee guide from Amla Green as a free gift to thank you for being here today. So that is the full recipe, the full demonstration here. If we don't have any other questions, then maybe we'll just wrap this up. Seems like pretty straightforward, everyone. And yes, like I said, I will drop the full written recipe in the comments after the live ends. And I think that's all we've got. So thank you, friends, so much for being here today. It's always a pleasure to make delicious concoctions with you. And I will see you again next time. Have a great weekend.